Tonight on the Black Channel, we're going to have a discussion about who are our black political leaders. You know, a lot has been done here. Last year was a banner year for what we do. A whole bunch of folks who told you about what wasn't going to happen, was never going to occur, and the issues that would never go on the front burner and whatnot. And then next thing you know, you looked up and there it was. That gives you momentum. And I want us to build on that momentum. California was a bellwether event that really, in my estimation, puts us in a very good position going forward. If you can keep up that kind of momentum, if you can keep up that kind of focus, it puts us in a very good position going forward. But there are other events out there. There are other events out there that are equally as deserving of our attention. One of those in particular has been the murder of Robert Brooks by New York State correctional officers with the collaboration of many of the politicians there in power who have been sitting back and willfully allowing these things to occur and presiding over it. As I stated, I am more than focused on seeing what to do about that. And tonight is going to be the discussion we have for that. First, I want to explain why we're going to do what we're going to do. And then we're going to discuss what we're going to do. And I'm going to open up the Zoom here uncharacteristically early. I'm going to open up the Zoom early because folks are going to get to weigh in on this because that'll be important. It's not an election year. And I have long been telling people here that media, the way that corporate media works is they try to get your attention when they think they're going to get ratings. The issue is that our lives are not a TV show. Therefore, we can't be beholden to ratings. We can't be beholden to the idea that we are going to sit up here and try to strike when they think people are watching things. That's not what we're going to do here. That's not what we're going to do. We are going to be about what we're doing in a smarter way than that. And that's very, very important. When other people are, if you wait until it's an election year or you wait until a certain date, just remember you're going to be fighting everybody else who's trying to take control of a conversation. These other folks don't know what it means to build a campaign. So instead of you waiting until there's some special date, you make this the special date. You make right here, right now, the special date. That's what you're doing. And we're going to make a date now. We did this before in California. When the opportunity presented itself and there was a reparations task force, when the opportunity presented itself, that was the time to move. And now is the time to move again. And I've chosen that New York should be the place to do that. New York should be the state and the place to do that. It is one of those places there that everyone recognizes and that everyone knows. It is one of those places that everyone recognizes and knows, and I think that's important. The legislative session has started in New York State. So the legislative session has already begun in New York State. So that is good. Next month is a little sparse, but for January, the legislative session has begun. And that's what I want to focus on. So tonight, consider this to be a committee, if you will, for what we're discussing here. In California, the issue was pushing for reparations. In New York State, it is very clear that we need to have a black hate crime law. Everyone has been allowed to try to ignore us and talk about everyone else except for the only group that actually this applies to. And they need to be put on the spot and informed that we are not going to play along with that one. We are the only targeted group, as you can obviously see. And because of that, we're going to put that on the front burner. So, this week, I plan on holding at least one, maybe more than one, broadcast here, and I am looking forward to all of you joining me for it, because this is just that important a thing to do. It's the beginning of the year. There's a lot going on. I have a lot going on. But then again, we always have a lot going on. I'm going to make time for this. We're going to make time for this. But before we do, of course, it does beg some questions here. In California, the whole reason for us doing it the way we did in California was because it put folk on the spot and it forced them to be on the record. New York State offers a similar opportunity. Folks who are not on the record are about to be put on the record, but my question for you is whom? Whom should it be? I do not think that we should try to talk to everyone. As a matter of fact, I think we should talk to only a few someones. But who are those few someones they should be? Well, I think, of course, Governor Hochul is obviously on that list. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up the Zoom here. I'm going to open up the Zoom for my people in New York. I know that this is a bit different. Tonight's broadcast is not really a, quote, broadcast in the traditional sense. Tonight's broadcast is not a broadcast in the traditional sense of what we do. Tonight's broadcast is more of a war council of what we're going to have happen here. We've always said that until we have the ability to choose specific targets and to target specific strategies, we haven't come into our own yet, but tonight's going to be different in that matter. We've done this before. We've done this before a couple of years ago. And now we're going to do it again. It's a much bigger thing this time, of course, obviously. But then again, our goals usually are. We did this before with the Central Park Karen. We did this before with the Central Park Karen. We did this before with Governor Cuomo. And we see how all of those went. We see how all of those went. Now we're doing something different here. So what I want to do here is I want to send it out to my folks here from New York. I'd like for us to discuss who we need to contact here, who you all think we should contact, especially among our so-called black political leaders. Now, there's the real thing. There's the real thing. There's the real thing about that. Tonight, I want to have a discussion about our black political leaders. I don't want folks just doing random ranting. There's the other issue that we have in there is that when it's time to strategize, when it's time to execute things, you got folks who want to get up and rant. That folks need to understand all that emotional venting and stuff. That's not the move. That's not the move. So we're not here to rant. We're not here to just sit up and do general whining and complaining. We're not going to just doing ranting. But I want New York to stand up on this. And this week, maybe tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I want to find out from you all whether or not you think tomorrow, because when you take a look at the New York State legislative calendar, when you actually take a look at the New York State legislative calendar, I think they got it marked for the 8th on there, but don't want to sit up here and do random things. Let's go ahead and jump here on Zoom. Let me go ahead and jump here on Zoom here. I want to see if we can get John up on Zoom for us here. See if we can get John up here on Zoom. John, I don't see you. Can I have a light on for you? There you go. All right, John, what's on your mind?
Yeah. Yeah, this is very much unexpected. Very much so unexpected. You want to talk about New York, government outcome, and anything like that. What we saying over here is that me personally, I'm going to speak for a certain few people in New York. Gentrification is going on like a motherfucker out here, and we don't like it. You know what I'm saying? And they walking their dogs over here in front of your crib, shitting and pissing everywhere. They don't give a fuck. I approached these white dudes about that shit. They said to me, this is public properties or whatever. And I'm like, okay. So you saying to me that your dog can walk around here having no respect about the neighborhood that you live in, shit and pee. As a grown-ass human being, I can't just, stop and shit and pee around your block, right? You know what I'm saying? That's number one frustration right now that we got to deal with. Number two, listen, police brutality is here.
Here's my thing about it, though, John.
All right, go ahead.
This is the ranting part I was just referring to there. So
okay,
tonight's giving us an update on things we're aware of. I mean, there's certainly, gentrification, the colonizers are showing up. They're being their usual disrespectful selves. That's how they claim dominance, is being able to walk on your property, on your block, and disrespect you. That's an act of dominance. That's like a man sleeping with your wife. I mean, he's not just sleeping with your woman. That's an act of dominance by him doing that. He's in your house. He's taking your property and doing what he will. Well, we want to know here, because what we want to know is, okay, this week, what I want to do is start doing some contacting. This week, what I want to do is start blowing up some phone lines. This week, what I want to do is I want to start blowing up some phone banks. This week, I want to shut down some switchboards. That's what I want to do this week. And I'm bringing the family for that. The Robert Brooks incident puts that in the spotlight. So the real issue here is for the folks who are up there in New York. Who do we need to light up? Who is representing for us up there?
That's a great question. First of all, we don't even know who's our local congressman. We don't even know. They show up once a year when they need to be elected, and then they go back into they cubicle, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we don't even know. Black people in New York City don't know who to go and turn to. We don't know. We have a mayor. We have a deputy mayor. We have everybody that's supposedly representing New York City in the whole, in the junction, but who's representing us? We don't even know. We don't even know. And we need people like you to come out here and find out. Help us find out. Not find out for us, but help us find out, because at the end of the day, I'm sick and tired, man. I'm sick and tired. I'm ready to leave New York. I'm out. It's 2025, man. We're going to go through the same shit 2026. Nah, man.
Well, let me find out here. Which borough do you live in?
I'm in Brooklyn. I'm right next to Barclays Center.
Okay, you're in Brooklyn, next to Barclays Center. Been through there a few times, right down the streets, Junior's Cheesecakes. So,
yep.
So, Jason knows his blocks over there. My thing is, okay, who is your representative there, man?
That's a good question, Jason. This is why I listen to the Black Cheddar, because you be finding out shit that we don't even know.
My folks in New York, my folks in New York don't know who's representing them?
Nope. I guarantee you. Not no black people. And most of the black people over here is Caribbean. They not, descendants.
I wonder if the white folk who live there know who their representatives are.
The white folks don't give a fuck. They coming from other countries, other towns. They're not even coming from down south any further. They coming from other countries. They walking their dogs, acting like they've been here for years. And we know, I see them. I mean, listen, my other homies from New York City that live around here, they know these motherfuckers ain't from here, but they want to act like, I'm New York. You ask them a question, well, what's your lineage from? New York. But seriously, where your lineage? Oh, well, they don't want to answer you that question because they're ashamed to tell you where they actually from, but they know that they're here now and they take it over in their own accord.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Well, I guess that's a piece of information then we got to get together on.
All right, peace.
Thank you very much for giving us a call here, folks. I mean, there's an issue right there. If you don't even know who it is, then all you can really do is general ranting. You got to know who these folk are, because the whole point of sitting out an election is not for general ignorance. The whole point of it is I know who Joe Biden is. I know who Kamala Harris is. I know who Hakeem Jeffries is. I know who Nancy Pelosi is. I know who they are. So everything I do is targeting them because I know who it is. It's not that I don't know who it is. So the first thing here is that, by the way, holes in the game, if you don't even know who your target is, how do you hit them? How can you hit a target that you don't even know is there? Arthur Schopenhauer talked about that. So if they got you not even knowing where the target is, there's no way to win under that circumstance. Let's go ahead and see if we can get Onan X up here. Let's go ahead and see if we can get Onan X. Waiting for his Zimbabwe broadband here. Okay, we got Onan from Queens. What's on your mind, Onan?
What's going on? So, these people, the officers that beat up Robert Brooks, I think they need to be brought to justice immediately. You had mentioned one of my favorite philosophers, Arthur Schopenhauer. It's a shame what's going on in New York at this time, and I think I think there's justice to be served, but I don't know if it's going to be with Kathy Hochul or another administration. But certainly something needs to be done about that situation in particular.
Okay. Let me see if I can corral the cats tonight here. It's like herding cats here tonight. Folks, let me try this one more time. Maybe it's just because I'm from Louisiana and this is how we do that. General ranting is not the real issue, folks. I mean, we're not here to talk about what we can't do. We're here to talk about what we're going to do, not what we can't. Cats in New York don't know who their reps are. They don't know who it is, and they're proud about it. So I can already see, strategizing here, I can already see what the issue is. Folks don't know what the issue is. In New York, it's kind of a cultural thing to complain about stuff. I understand that. I'm like, okay, but meanwhile, over there in Yonkers, the Jewish folk, they ain't really big on complaining. They ringing phones, they ringing stuff like that. So this is our opportunity to do that. So this is what we're on tonight. Yeah. Who we calling, who we contacting, and do folks even know what they doing it for? Because that's what I'm getting ready to move on. So, Onan, who's your rep, man, in your area? Who's where's our black leadership there?
Well, the rep in my area is AOC. You know, I'm in District 14, you know, in the Bronx and Queens. So I don't know if she's going to be able to do anything about that situation in particular. But no, we have about 70,000 people. Okay,
that one's fine too. So AOC, that's fine.
Right.
Cats need to look. AOC is always want to be on social media and whatnot. And her situation is more tenuous than a lot of folks give it credit for being. AOC is supposed to have a committee chairmanship right now. She doesn't. And she doesn't because of Nancy Pelosi. Okay. She doesn't because of the old guard. So AOC understands that there's a lot of folk in the Democrat Party who would very much like her to not be there. That's the thing we're taking a look at. So AOC, that is a legitimate point of focus. So I don't have a problem with that one.
But do you think that Nancy Pelosi is essentially hindering AOC or any of the young Democratic Party leaders from being able to do what they do because they're trying to protect the old guard?
Yes, that's the whole point. And my thing about it is the reason why they lost power and lost influence is because we were publicly speaking against them. Something
Right.
that up until this point was unheard of. Barack Obama didn't lose the election of 2024 for Kamala Harris as a result of 2024. He lost as a result of everything that happened in the previous decade. It used to be
Right.
unpopular to speak against him. You couldn't do it. Remember when Barack Obama was president and waving his finger at black males, you had the old media and whatnot and a bunch of old niggas sitting up, hey, you know what I mean? You got your point there. Came back and tried it in 2024 and it ended disastrously. Completely opposite result from what he had done a decade earlier. That was a result of a whole decade of speaking against them and not being afraid to say it. Nancy Pelosi is actually the weak one right now. AOC needs to be able to get around that. So yes, people like her and some of the others. I think that they're going to be not nearly as implacable as folks might think because they understand that their situation is tenuous. Nancy Pelosi would love to replace AOC with somebody who's going to toe the line a little bit better. AOC is aware of this, especially after watching what happened to Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush. So yeah, the old guard is trying to hang in there. The younger folk are going to be looking for folks who are going to hold it down.
Right. Yeah, I think it's I think it's the introduction of the new school. I kind of think of it like almost like hip hop. If you remember the leaders of the new school in the early '90s with Busta Rhymes and what's the scenario? That was a popular song in the early '90s, but basically it just signified the introduction of the new guard and getting rid of the old people like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi that are basically hindering empowerment for the younger generation and Black people in specific. And it's a shame. But with 70,000 Black Americans being in District 14, I think that we will be able to leverage our voice in order to make significant change in cases like Robert Brooks, pardon me, and other individuals who just suffer.
Well, the real thing is we want to find out who it
government
is. We need to find out who it is in New York who is going to be on board or who is going to be the most able to be pushed about black hate crime legislation. That needs to be an issue, and that needs to be an issue now. So the real question is who up there is going to be most amiable to be pushed for that. Because I see cats like Torres. I'm like, okay, I don't know what to think there. I see some of the other folk up there. I'm not really sure what to think there. AOC, she is, United States Congress, but like I say, she still does have a lot of influence as far as social media and as far as bringing attention to a subject in New York. So that one is legit. The real thing is, okay, who else do you have? So to make sure everybody is clear tonight about what I'm talking about here, I am not talking about prosecuting the prison guards for what has already occurred. That's already underway. You've already got your state attorney general. Like I say, that's already underway there. I'm not saying she's going to necessarily, quote unquote, do the right thing. What I'm saying is that that's a separate issue. The real thing we're talking about is going forward. I'm talking about now is the time for us to not just push for arrests and indictments. This needs to be like Emmett Till. Now, it's like, okay, what are we going to do to make sure that we focus on this as an issue and legislation going forward? That's what we're talking about now. So who do we need to push for that? So right now I'm thinking like Emmett Till.
One more question, and I'll land my plane here. Do you think that Donovan Richards, he's the president of Queens, do you think that he's going to speak up on the behalf of Robert Brooks or any of the injustices committed against Black men, or do you think he's just going to stay silent?
Is he elected?
He is elected. He's the current Queensborough president.
Okay, then
him being a Black man, I think it would be apropos for him to speak up on the
Okay,
behalf of Robert Brooks.
what is his name?
His name is Donovan Richards. He's the president of Queens, the borough of Queens. Look him up, Donovan Richards. He's a black man. I do think he's going to run for mayor of New York City at some point. Maybe not in 2028, but certainly at some point. But yeah, just keep an eye on him and Jumaane Williams as well.
The Zimbabwe broadband is kicked back in. All right, thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Here, Zimbabwe broadband is kicked back in again, but all right, I think that's legitimate. That's fine. We can do that there. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can get next up here. All right, let me get Brother Elijah up here. Brother Elijah's out of New York, so let me go ahead and get Brother Elijah. Okay, you on the train right now, dude?
Yes, sir.
No, he's on an airplane. Never mind.
No. I'm on the Long Island Railroad.
Oh, he's on the road.
Big bro.
All right,
yes,
brother, what's going on?
Before I ask you some questions, let me help you out because I know the question you was asking and seemed it wasn't really being answered. The first person we start with is State Assemblywoman Diana C. Richardson, New York State. Because, all right, the second person is State Senator Zelenor Myrie. Let's be mindful, big brother. These are both tethers. They're not of the lineage, but I know what you were saying. We need to be knocking on some doors going forward about that hate crime bill. The reason I know that.
Slow down now.
Yes, sir.
Who's the first name you named?
Diana C. Richardson, a state assemblywoman.
Okay, well, I guess I can take a look and see where she represents.
No. She's in my district in Brooklyn.
Okay, so
she's actually my neighbor.
Okay,
when I'm staying in Brooklyn.
Oh, so good. So you can go knock on the door for her. All right, the other one you said is somebody named Zelenor Myers.
Zelenor Myrie.
Oh, Zelenor Myrie.
Yeah, like you say Kyrie, you'll say Myrie. Kyrie Irving, you'll say Zelenor Myrie. That's it. He's a state senator, New York State Senator.
Zelnor Myrie.
Zelenor.
Zelnor. ZELLNORMYRIE.
No.
So, I'm sitting here.
Okay.
I'm sitting here looking at him. I'm sitting here looking at him. I'm spelling it for everybody.
I apologize.
I'm spelling it for everybody else so that they can know who we're talking about here. So it's
Zelnor, please forgive me, big brother.
Zelnor Myrie,
state senator.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Those are the first two names. If you need some more names, I will gladly look them up for you, big brother.
Yeah, he wants to run for mayor this year.
Yes.
That's actually a good thing. So he wants to run for mayor this year. He's got 22,000 followers on Twitter. I've got a lot more.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so he wants to run for mayor of New York. I'm very glad to hear that.
Yes, sir.
Sounds like a man in need of some support there based on what I'm seeing. So,
yes sir,
Mr. Myries, I'm so glad to hear you want to get a leg up in the world. So glad to hear that. You sound like a man very much in need of some support right now.
You sure do. I have a third one. She's her name is Senator Jessica Scarcella Stan, Senator serving Staten Island and Southern Brooklyn. So that's I will look up some more, but
Jessica Scarcella Spanton.
Yes, sir.
I've seen this one before.
Yes, sir.
So this one here we're aware of. This one here I'm aware of.
Okay,
so
yes, sir.
We'll have to see about that.
No, definitely. I'm not here to go on no rant. I just wanted to throw some names out, but I had to get the two black ones out there first. All right, definitely. I had to do that, but also What's that? Because I know what you were saying. You was talking about you want to start pushing for this anti-black hate crime bill, and the first place to do it in New York. It's time to make that move, and I'm standing right behind you, big brother, and I'll play my part.
All right, folks, keep your eyes and ears open here because we may be moving on this here sooner than you might think. So he's contacted me from the railroad. And that's what you're looking for there. Let me go ahead and see if I can get Sonia here. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Sonia up on Zoom here. Let's see if we can get Sonia here on Zoom for me. All right, Sonia. Unmute yourself, ma'am. Unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Black.
All right, sister, what is on your mind?
Okay, so I just want to apologize for the first gentleman that called in from Brooklyn stating that he did not know who his representatives were. If he were to join his local community board, he would know who his local representatives are. But for myself, I live in Queens. And as you know, New York City is divided into many different districts based on the borough. So I'm in District 31 when it comes to city, and when it comes to federal, I'm in District 5. All of my political leaders are Black. So for city council, I have Sylvana Brooks Powers, and she's also the majority leader of the council. For my assembly member, I have Assembly Member Khalil Anderson. He's newly elected, very young. He's the youngest member of the assembly. He's not even 30 years old yet. I have my local senator is Senator James Sanders Jr. And my congressman is Gregory Meeks. Like Onan stated, we do share the same borough president, which is Queens Borough President Donovan Richards. And right, I believe Letitia James, her as foul as she is, I think we should definitely blow up her phone. And also Governor Kathy Hochul as well.
Okay, well, definitely I intend to do that as well there. So those are good there. Black Powder Podcast says Alicia Hindman, District 29.
She's in Queens. Yeah, she's in a different part of Queens from where I live. But yeah, she's also Black.
Okay. Wondering, like I say, there's questions I do have that I cringe at asking, because like I say, I wish we had an alternative to the National Action Network, because there's no point in having them if you're not going to take Democrats to task when they sit around stalling and hemming and hawing and not doing anything. If you're going to sit up here and keep making excuses for them when you got a Democrat city, Democrat legislature, Democrat governor, and then stuff not getting done, you should be railing every damn day. If they're the ones in power, they're the ones you're supposed to be talking about on a daily basis. So there's the reason why I can't really, appeal to them or give them any credibility, because I'll be damned. Well, okay, this is going on. You should be the biggest damn people cracking the whip on Letitia James and every damn thing else. It's not enough to my these folk over here. This is what happens. You got these old bought and paid for, bought off niggas, because this is not enough. This is not enough to go putting out brush fires every time you turn around. There should be comprehensive legislation that prevents fires in the first place. The whole reason this is happening is because there's holes and openings for that. That's the whole point. So, like I say, I wish we had more organizations we could deal with in that regard and join up with them, because you don't have to start something from the ground up. But the reason we end up having to start stuff from the ground up is because, you old organizations, y'all been bought and paid for and bought off. And there's a bunch of niggas sitting up here to start a nonprofit so somebody can come pay their rent for them to have a loft over there in Manhattan. That's what we end up with. And so the people are out here having to fend for themselves. And that's disgraceful. So that's all the more reason for that. Clyde Vanell, Clyde Vanell. Not somebody had mentioned Clyde Vanell. I'm trying to figure out who this is. New York representative, where are you at there? Assemblymember Clyde Vanell. Okay, Queens Village. Okay. New York State Assemblymember Clyde Vanell. Okay, here's my thing is like, well, first and foremost, before you do anything, first and foremost, the folk that we're talking about, because we could name names all evening because there's probably hundreds of them in the legislature. Okay, fine. The real question is, first and foremost, who has even given lip service to these issues? That's the first thing. Who's even given lip service to it? Because without that, that's the thing to take a look at. Who has given lip service to it first and foremost? Because I'm on Zellnor's page on Twitter and I don't see anything about Robert Brooks. So just thought that'd be very interesting. He did wish everybody a happy Kwanzaa. So he did wish that. He's worried about mass shootings. He's worried about that. So once again, like I say, this is what happens when you allow folks to do that. Once again, that's the kind of thing you're looking at. So we got folk out there and whatnot, and things are happening. You got events going on, and next thing you know, they're not saying anything. That's all very interesting. All very interesting. What I'm saying is folks ain't been holding their feet to the fire and haven't been letting them know that they're watching them. That tells you something right there in New York. I know folk got a lot going on, but when you let these people think nobody is watching, you'll be surprised some of the stuff they'll sit up here and ignore and disregard. Once they realize that, oh hell, somebody's watching. Y'all saw that happen in California. The only black, Gavin Newsom threw the only black legislator who wasn't running for re-election. He threw him under the bus in a minute. Oh, y'all can talk to him. I'll be damned, he's not running again. Okay. That tells you something. I'll let you have the last word, sister.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, the NAACP and National Action Network are very disappointing organizations. We have local chapters all over the boroughs. And I'm here to tell you, we have a local chapter right here in my neighborhood in Queens. And it's sad because they, like you said, they all bought and paid off. It's a nonprofit organization, but honestly, they don't do anything to help the community. So it's really hard to depend on these organizations because they're only for the money. So we have to, anything that we want, we have to go straight to the elected officials to get anything done. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, sister. We appreciate that. You'd be surprised what folks will try to get away with if they think you're not watching. Let me go ahead and see if I can get Anisha up here. Let's go ahead and grab Anisha next here. Waiting for Anisha to come up here. Well, I mean, look, like I say, like the NAACP and whatnot, the deal on them. It's just you're gonna have to kick folk in the ass and get things done yourself. If folk think you are not watching, they'll let anything pass. The whole thing is about what they're most worried about is, do you have the ability and the capability to put a spotlight on these things independently? Because if the only thing you can do is wait for television and radio, out of sight, out of mind. If you got the ability to kick it into high gear and start something on your own, that's a different matter. Let me go ahead and get Anisha up here on Zoom. Anisha, just to make sure we don't have any trolling issues, because sometimes that kind of thing occurs, I just need to make sure you have your camera and your microphone on for me here. Nobody else will see you except me. You're not going to be shown on YouTube, so you don't have to worry about that. However, just to ensure that we don't have any trolling issues, we don't have any suspected white supremacists or coons or anything else coming through trying to disrupt the program, the only thing that we ask is make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on for us. I can give you 5 more seconds to go ahead and do that. Otherwise, we're going to have to go ahead and move on. We can't sit around and wait here all night for folks and whatnot. So somebody's grandma or auntie might have figured out how to press the Zoom button. That's not really what we're looking for. So Not really sure what's going on there. Okay, Anisha keeps trying to jump back into Zoom as well. So, Anisha, ma'am, please get your act together on this. Otherwise, we're going to just think you're trolling. So, there's never a good spot to be in. Anisha, I need to have a light on in there. So, just having blackness and whatnot is not helping me any. I can give you 5 seconds and then permanent vacation. So, folks, we can't sit up here and play around all night. We really can't do that. So, not really sure what's going on. Okay, Anisha has decided she won't be joining us, I guess. Let me go ahead and see if we can get August here. Okay. I have August here on Zoom. August, I just need you to turn your camera and microphone on for me. There you go. Thank you, August.
Okay.
All right, August, what's on your mind?
Is my microphone on?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. Hey, what's going on, Mr. Black? Thanks for the broadcast. I'm at work doing my security thing. Don't mind me.
I see.
Yeah, big, 5'7" and all that, just in case. Power tools. But what I was gonna say was, it's unfortunate that, to answer the question in your thumbnail about our Black leaders, we simply don't have any, and I don't think we can afford even to be led on that we do. Like if some new politician were to come along and they're talking a good game and everything, I think we can't even afford to get our justice through the what I call white man's justice, and how Iceberg Slim put it in his book, White Man's Justice, Black Man's Burden. White man's justice is always a Black man's burden. We're just simply not going to get it in this country without violence. The only people who got reparations in this country for something that happened to them here was the Japanese and the natives, and they both fought a bloody war with Americans. Not that they won, but it was a consolation prize for the reparations that they did get.
Well, here's the thing, brother. What you're saying is not that it's without merit. However, please understand, especially here on these channels, we have to watch what you say in those regards.
For sure.
Because we're not the only ones listening.
For sure.
We here do not advocate violence in any form, fashion, or manner. We do recognize that sometimes the political process does not work, so we do certainly recognize that. And sometimes you got to take to the streets, and we certainly recognize that. So we do recognize sometimes you need extra political measures. So we certainly do recognize that. Where do you live at?
I'm from Oakland, but I live in Atlanta. I've been in Atlanta a couple of years.
Okay.
So, yeah. But again, I dig what you're saying, but let me correct myself and at least say from a self-defense standpoint, I think we have to be more, or put it this way, we have a warrior class and we have a crash out warrior class. I just don't understand why we're still the whooping boys of the international community. I mean, of the United States community. We seem to still be the whooping boys when it comes to the authoritative figures, and this is really frustrating because I don't know what to do.
Well, what happens here is that over time, you used to have it controlled by the grassroots, but once things get big enough, they try to install somebody to be a figurehead, a leader, a chief influencer, and then all they got to do is buy that person off. And then next thing you know, they got you going in every damn different direction, and everything becomes, meet and greets and sip and talks and things like that. And next thing you know, you're DL Hughley and telling everybody that there is no issue. You just need to show up and vote regardless. So
right, exactly.
That's really what ends up happening to us. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight, brother. We appreciate that. Yeah, folks, like I say, watch what we say here. But tonight we're talking about what we're going to do. So this week, for those of you who are just joining us, I mentioned this last week. No, I was not playing. This week, I want us to go to work on New York. This week, I want us to go to work on New York. We done it in California. We did it with the fellow who was online and was trying to down us about his Pace University credentials. We lit that one up. You see how that turned around? Now we're going for our biggest target yet. The Robert Brooks situation in New York. In California, we're talking about reparations. In New York, we're talking about a hate crime law, a black hate crime law, one that is specifically addressing our needs and concerns, and that needs to be the catalyst for that. As Emmett Till was the catalyst for the civil rights movement, what happened to Robert Brooks, this happened on video. You could not have a more obvious and blatant lynching so blatant. You don't have that any other way. So what we're doing right now, I'm trying to find out here who in New York in your state assembly has been talking about that. We're talking now about where your black political leaders are in New York. It's looking like, who has been speaking up for it. Who has been speaking up for it. It's very, very important. Let me go ahead and get back on Zoom here. Let me see if I can get Karen on Zoom. Let me see if we can get Karen up on Zoom. All right, we got Karen on Zoom.
Hi, Jason.
Hey, babe, what's on your mind?
I'm embarrassed by the guy from Brooklyn. I mean, I don't even understand why he was trying to ask you to give him information on who's his representative. However, I'm looking on Jamani Williams, and he's the oh my God, I can't remember what he is, but he's like second in line to the mayor, and he's running for governor actually. So Jamani Williams is a good one. And here in the Bronx, it's Kevin Riley and Jamal Bailey, who always send me things saying anything I need, let them know. So I'm ready to let them know. By the way, I don't believe I've heard anyone from New York other than the governor say anything about this man who was murdered. And I think she's a good person because she's trying to run again for governor, because we didn't elect her, by the way. She kind of was pushed on us, so she's trying to stay in that position. So I think she's a good person to put some pressure on. She might be malleable. But yeah, that's what I have. Who are the other two names you said other than Jamali Williams? I want to make sure I took those Kevin down. Riley.
Okay, Kevin Riley. And what does he do?
Oh my God. Okay. Giving me pressure here. Hold on. Kevin Riley is the chair of subcommittee, co-chair Black, Latino, and Asian Caucus. Okay. He's a city council member.
All right. Here's the thing here. I want to focus more on the state representatives, or people who are aspiring to go to state representatives, go to the state level, state rep, state senator, or governor, because this wouldn't be a city thing. We don't just want a New York. Right. Obviously, having New York City pass such a thing would be fantastic. It really, really would. However, for things that happen with the Department of Corrections, that goes outside of that. So anything that happens at the state is going to automatically hit New York City, regardless. So, right. For council members, that's a little bit different, unless they're indicating they want to run for a higher office. So, in Jamani's case, and we know him, I've talked about him before. So, Jamani's got his mind on representing everybody. Okay, I understand that. He does have his mind on that. This is a good time to tap him on the shoulder and let him know, okay, you want to represent everybody, you can start here. You want to represent, he wants to represent, quote, everybody, he can start here. So he wants to run for governor. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, right.
I'm very glad to hear that, Jamali. That's great. You want to run for governor. Sounds fantastic to me. You want support, you can start here. Or, like I say, I can take out a billboard for you, or we can take one out in the other one. All righty. So, one way or the other. So, Jamani, we'll see, bro. You might get support one way or the other. We'll see how it goes. All right, and what was that other name you named?
Yeah, it's Jamal Bailey. He's a state senator, so I don't know if he's okay.
Well, here's the real thing. Some folks in the chat room and whatnot, it's like, oh, this person's good, this person's bad, they're all bad.
No, yeah.
I need
they
folks,
haven't said anything.
Let me get people to understand something here, folks. If you want to be objective here, it's being objective, not subjective. Ain't nobody Jason Black sitting up in there. Nobody is Black first minded. We don't have anybody like that.
Exactly.
This is what the civil rights generation did. They're the ones who screwed this. We're the ones unscrewing it. So I'm just letting everybody know, when you sit up here and say, oh, this person is this or this person that, that's not really going to weigh on me. I'm objective about this. Ain't none of them the most desirable person. We don't have a Miss Congeniality. We don't have Mr. Reliable people. So everybody talking about, ooh, they did this, and ooh, they've been over here. Oh, this person over here. Oh, they bad about this. They're all bad.
They're all bad.
And by the way, one more thing, and this is the way that they treat it over there on the Republican side. You talking about Fox News and every damn thing else. They don't sit up here. They're not in love with anybody. They're not in love with anyone. Last year, they loved Speaker Mike Johnson. This year, they want him out. We got folks over here. So, we're going to follow who they ain't good right there. Dude, we have no permanent friends. We have no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. I guess folk thought I was jiving about that, or I was just saying it because it sounds cool. No, I mean that. We have no permanent friends. We have no permanent enemies, only permanent interests. He can go hang out with the Hispanic and LGBT caucus all he wants to. I want to find out what you're doing for us. We've been saying this the entire time, people. You want to hang out with the Hispanic and LGBT caucus? You need to earn the right to do that. You haven't earned it. You're dependent on black votes. You're dependent on black people's support, certainly for us not to speak against you. Okay, and then next thing you know, you jumping up talking about for everybody else as if we okay over here. Oh, these other folk over here really need help. We're the only ones who really need help. The folk you going over there for, they straight already. You trying to get them even better than they already are, and we're the ones in dire straits? No, you need to earn the right to go over there and go do that, Jamani. You got to earn that. We don't have reparations, but y'all giving free checks to illegals up there. You need to earn the right to do that.
Crazy.
You haven't earned it. So we're here to tap you on the shoulder and remind you, you haven't earned that. But here's the issue. If ain't nobody tapping them on the shoulder and ain't nobody letting them know what's going on, that's what happens. So people, let me clear the board on that. You're not swaying me when you say, oh, this person he ain't good, he ain't right. None of them are.
Right.
None of them, get that out your head, none of them are. That's why the whole point of tonight's broadcast is we're going to talk about get some act right. Ain't none of them acting right, but let's just be honest about why that is. Where we been, what we've been doing, the civil rights generation, what they've been doing. In New York City, most of them old bastards trying to figure out how to get out. That's problematic. That's problematic. Because that makes it open season on everybody who can't leave. There's the problem. When these kind of things occur, you only have the very rich and the very poor. And I'm just saying this, okay, if you're not the folk wealthy enough to be able to quote unquote leave, that just leaves you sitting there stuck for whatever the hell happening, and everybody else sees you a sitting duck. So all this every man for himselfism, I don't even want them cats around. Let's just call it for what it is. Talk about New York driving. New Yorkers drive like every man for themselves. And that mentality is a sickness and a problem. We need the New York riders, not the New York sliders. Depending on what sliding they're doing. But we certainly hell don't need the runners. So, yeah, we need folk who are going to be able to stand for something. I'll let you have the last word.
Can I ask you, what do you think about this Letitia James recusing herself? Is she being foul? Because it just seems foul to me. It seems like she should have arrested those men. And they said, oops, I can't arrest them. But at least they've been in jail. It's not sitting well with me that she just said, oh, I can't do anything, people.
Letitia James is one of the most obvious, embarrassing puppets of the New York political establishment. She always has been. She came in as part of that black girl tragic wave they brought with the Kim Foxes and whatnot. She was part of that little wave, and Fannie Willis's little stubby behind came up, pulling up the rear. And that's her job, is to be the Negro crash dummy. That's her job. That's her purpose. You can't name a single issue that she has been useful on. From Eric Garner that was the only one I was not allowed to do. Now, of all the billboards that I've ever charged, I'm giving y'all a little bit of inside. I may have mentioned this before, but let me go ahead and remind you again. Now, you all know me. I'm the dude about that. I done fought with Lamar billboards for a decade now. I've got billboards put up. You all never thought you would see that in lights, and I was able to get it done. The only one I was not able to get done was Letitia James. They would not let me do it. Didn't matter what I said. Didn't matter how I went about it. Didn't matter how I tried to reword it. They didn't want me to really talk about Letitia James at all. Governor Cuomo, you saw the billboard I put for Governor Cuomo. I'm telling y'all, I'm not telling you what somebody else told me. I am telling you all what happened with me with Lamar billboards in New York City that you know I've been doing it for years. I was able to, you saw what I put about Governor Cuomo, but I wanted to put up one about Letitia James and Eric Garner. That's what I wanted to do. They would not allow me to put up a billboard that mentioned Letitia James and Eric Garner on the same billboard in any way. They wouldn't allow me to do that. The only other time I've had that incident was there was only one other, Tamir Rice and LeBron James.
Oh,
they wouldn't let me put LeBron James' name on the same billboard with Tamir Rice. Okay, because they were like, that it just happened. So I guess they was worried about inciting something. All right, you shouldn't have the same concern in New York. Especially not after all the time that had passed and everything. So that wasn't the case. But they would not let me put her name and Eric Garner's name on the same billboard. They wouldn't do it. Didn't matter how I tried to reword it, worked on it, negotiate, anything. They were just not going to have it. So, like I say, just to give you a bit of an insight on how things go there and some of the experiences that I've had. And remember, I don't even live in New York. I don't even live there. So I just want y'all to understand that she was put there for a reason and she's doing what she was put there for. Now she can no longer serve that purpose. So they really can't use her anymore. I didn't say they don't need her. They can't use her anymore because she can't serve that purpose. She thought she was going to run for governor. I told everybody that's not going to happen. She tried it. That crashed and burned. Her job was to help the Democrats get Andrew Cuomo out of the office. That was her purpose. Wow. After she had done that, her usefulness was over because they didn't care how it went one way or the other. With George Clooney, it didn't matter if Kamala Harris won or lost. He was the designated crash dummy. He's not going to get elected for anything anyway. So you see how that happened. He's there. You are the sacrificial lamb. So yeah, you're going to be terribly unpopular, but he's not going to make any more movies. He's not going to do any more TV shows, and he's not going to run for office. So you can sacrifice him. Letitia James, well, baby, you just think you're going to run for office again. You're not. And she found out, no, you're not. So now she's the sacrificial lamb. That's it. So she's done. This is it. It's over for her. And now I guess I think that she's doing that on purpose so that whatever happens, you won't be able to blame her for it. So I think that's the best she feels like she can do. It's got a hell of a lot of attention on it. And I think she's worried one way or the other. She might be telling herself she's going to run for politics again. Baby, you ain't. You're not going to go to the United States Senate or nothing. If she thinks she's going to pull up Kamala Harris, she's as crazy as she looks. But I think I think she may be trying to triangulate herself to run for something else. And she's worried that she either doesn't want to upset the establishment, law enforcement, or black folks. So well, if I just remove myself from it, that's the least unpopular of all the available options. And this won't work either, by the way. And it won't work either.
Well, thank you, Jason. I appreciate everything that you do, and anything that you need, please, please, please contact me. I'm always there for anything.
I appreciate it. Thank you. We'll be in touch. Let me go ahead and see if we can take a look in this. Let me get Alan. Let me go ahead and see if I can grab Alan here on Zoom. All right, Alan, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Jason, what's going on? How you doing?
All right, brother. What's on your mind?
I'm well. Am I echoing?
No, sir. You're on.
All right, perfect. So what I put in the chat, but I also wanted to get on the call and talk about this because this is something that my business partner and I we've been focused on heavily. We have to lobby these politicians, right? Blowing up their phones is great, but they respond to the people who give them money. So if we're identifying people who plan on running for office at the state level coming up, let's put some money on their books collectively, right? Not just one person or Jason or myself, but as a group. Right, the limits that we can put on there is $6,600 per person. or 3,300 per person. So if we take that approach and we start lobbying these politicians and we come and then give them our demands, we can change some of those things that you're talking about, Jason.
I don't have an issue with that either. I am an advocate of all the above. First and foremost, though, they are very sensitive to their image, particularly if they're running for office, because all the money in the world doesn't help you if your image is bad. Ask Kamala Harris, ask Hillary Clinton. They both raised much more money than Donald Trump did. But their image was so bad that all the money in the world is not going to help you. So the whole reason for getting money is so you can overshadow and shout down the people speaking against you. That's the whole point of getting the money. You don't get money because money buys a seat. Money, might take a look at Michael Bloomberg. Now, he independently had more money than any of us. How did that work out for him? And all we had to do was speak against him. So I'm not guessing my way through it. So I'm certainly in favor of that. The real thing, though, is that you got to have a carrot and a stick.
Right.
So I'm not sitting here saying just use just one or the other. However, what I will tell you is right now, the stick. Right now, we need to get everybody acquainted with the fact that there's a stick out there. And if you think there's going to be a cakewalk, maybe you forgot there's a stick out there. Maybe we'll give the money to you. Then again, maybe I'll go buy some TV ads and some billboards. I might do that too. So this could go either. If you think that just us, quote, talking against you is, it's going to be innocuous and harmless, I don't know. You might want to think that over. Just maybe. But I have no problem with what you're saying. Although even still, that would have to be for the right person. That still wouldn't be willy-nilly for everybody. So in that case there, who would you recommend? Might be time. It might be time. As I'm saying, might be time to
New York, but I live down here now.
It might be time to strategize. I'm just saying, before you say anything, it might be time to strategize and calculate on that end of it. So I'm not against what you're saying, not at all. We can utilize that one when you have an appropriate target. When you have one, you can go in that direction. But no, I have no problem with what you're saying at all. Carrot and the stick, you definitely want to have that. Carrot and the stick, you definitely want to have that. Right now, we want to let folks know, by the way, there's a stick in the room. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Ty up here on Zoom. Let me get Ty on Zoom. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Ty up here on Zoom. Okay, Ty is out there somewhere. Not sure where Ty is. Ty, just need you to start your camera microphone for me here. We can go ahead and get started. I can give you 5 seconds for that. All right, we got Ty up here on Zoom. Ty, what's on your mind?
How you doing, Jason? I was in the chat, and I know y'all trying to look and see who's the black politicians you could speak of. I'm born and raised in New York State. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and I'm telling you right now, it's going to be hard to find some black people that's going to speak up, because it's basically, I call New York State Alabama North. We don't have pretty much a political any influence other than
especially Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo's got a very, very deep representation. It's like Boston from the old days, actually Boston kind of now. So Buffalo and Boston really got that hardcore white supremacist, racist, Irish, Italian thing, specifically targeting black folks. So it's always been that. However, brother, I hear what you're saying. I would just like to take it from a fellow from Louisiana. Please tell me where you gonna name a political establishment that isn't the same. Whatever criticism you want to make, I hear you. Tell me the place that isn't like that. We're in America.
Right.
We're in America. It's like that everywhere.
I'm going to tell you, because, it was something that happened during our last mayoral election here in Buffalo. We were so sick of the mayor and all of the corruption. We basically had a grassroots, sort of thing that we was pushing this candidate, and we almost got the mayor out of there. But the mayor, long story short, he paid off, a bunch of people, stole the election. He had to write in his name. And it was some people that was in the election booths that was actually filling in empty ballots. And they swept all that under the rug. But long story short, we almost got our grassroots mayor elected, and that sort of shook the political arena here. You know, it was like, who was these black people that could come together and kick out a mayor? And that was the mayor that's, he resigned now. That was their guy, the establishment. So that sort of shook up everything. And that was right before the top shooting happened. And and a few of the people that live here that we were talking and we were saying that, hey, that sort of, woke up a lot of people, what we did, what we almost did. Because we're the second biggest population outside of New York City. So, I can say that, politics is coming along slowly, but it's not, it's an uphill battle.
Brother, look, no, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's not going to be solved with a Twitter post. It's not going to be solved with a 30-minute sitcom. It's not going to be solved with an episode of Matlock. In 1 hour, this will all get fixed. It's not an episode of Suits. Everything's going to get fixed within an hour. This is a marathon, not a sprint. It's been neglected. It would have been nice if the previous generations had been as diligent about this as we're being. We wouldn't have to be here doing this. We're here doing this because the folk before us didn't do it. So it falls to us. The alternative is allowing the situation to deteriorate even further till we get back to the old days of them just lynching us from lampposts, which, by the way, that's next. You take this Robert Brooks video. Next up is just stringing us up from a lamppost. You just saw them strangle Jordan Neely to death and talk about, walked up behind him. He didn't touch anybody. All these white supremacists, Bill O'Reilly and Tucker Carlson, the rest of them, Jordan Neely did not touch anyone. He didn't lay a finger on anyone on that subway. And the hero, Daniel Penny, is so heroic. He snuck up behind this mentally ill man who didn't touch anybody and strangles him to death. And that makes you a hero? Dude, next step is stringing us up from a lamppost. And now you're a hero now.
Right. So, that's why I made the joke, Alabama North. But it's not like to me, it's like we got to do better. And I'm doing my part here. I'm part of a few nonprofit organizations and speaking out, but it's just that we have to have the numbers in order to, try to get to the politicians to even get them to move and do anything, because it's like you look at the top down, from the governor down, for most of the state assemblymen, they're not saying a thing. They're not doing anything, and then I get it because he's an inmate. And what if he was like a free person? It would have been different, but he's still a person at the end of the day. It's still a person on camera, a modern day lynching, and no one's saying anything.
Look, brother, if Robert Brooks, this is the mindset to have about it. If Robert Brooks were Robert Weissman or Robert Goldberg, and it had been a bunch of corrections officers of Palestinian descent or, Arab descent or whatever, beat this man to death, nobody would be talking about him being an inmate. So that is my response to anybody who would be apathetic because of, he's an inmate. If it was anybody else, they wouldn't be saying that. If Robert Brooks was Robert Chang, if Robert Brooks was Robert Lopez, if Robert Brooks, was anything else, it wouldn't even be an issue. In this case here, I'm not trying to hear it. I don't want to hear it from anybody. I don't give a damn where he was. I don't give a damn what it was for. That is irrelevant. You cannot grab one of us and beat us to death, and there's not going to be consequences about it. And I want to make sure that we start making it preemptive. These other folk did not do that. They sitting up here right now wanting to pass laws that make it where you can't talk about the state of Israel. No, not America, but a foreign nation. Are you out of your minds? So I'm like, you damn right, we gonna say something. If you can sit, if Chuck Schumer can push for that, you should have been done this over here, dude. You got to get past what we talking about before you can start talking about protecting Israel. You need to start protecting us over here. Then you had to earn the right to do what you're talking about.
Right. It's like the politicians in New York State are sort of tone deaf when it comes to like black issues. And it's something like this that nationwide, worldwide, people are seeing. Maybe, to me, it's like maybe if we can't get nothing moving in the state, we probably have to have something on the federal level. Hopefully we could get that moving, because on the state, they're going to drag their feet, because at the end of the day, that's the institution that did this is the state of New York. They're going to protect their own, and it's like I see all of the stuff that's going on, and it's not moving fast enough, and it's like, maybe we have to like make a lot of noise.
And there's the real point, brother. Remember, What you're talking about in Buffalo and everywhere else, how you disrupt these things is not being silent.
Right.
Voter apathy is, now notice the word is apathy. Voter apathy, where you do not care what's happening. That's the greatest tool that a corrupt government and political structure depend on. You can be a person who doesn't vote, and that doesn't mean you're apathetic. You can be very concerned and not voting. It's a different thing when it's like, I got other things to be concerned about. Now, that's the person they really want, because if they had their way, brother, out of a population of 20 million people up there, if only 4 people voted and they just got reelected all the time, they would be glad, that they would be perfectly fine with that right there. So talking about this, raising the profile of it, this becomes the issue. That's why I go over these numbers, and I know it sounds... I know it can sound inconsequential. I'm assuring you it's not. Take it from me, it isn't. Your voice is heard. They're depending on 2 things. Number 1, that you will not speak. And number 2, if you do speak, you're only going to say it once. And then you will go away. So drive gets you started. Consistency gets you over the finish line. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Please don't underestimate the power of your voice. Don't underestimate the power of raising an issue and raising its profile. Do not tell yourselves that that's inconsequential. I'm the guy telling you, no, it's not. It is not inconsequential. It's their worst nightmare when you start making that a point of focus. Everything is in flux right now, people. The ball has been scrambled. There is a fumble for the ball's been fumbled. There's a scramble for the ball. Everybody's trying to figure out that when you have a motivated base of people and a concerned base of people, that's what they're looking for. They want to see, are you all going to focus that energy in a direction, and then what happens? Let me go ahead and get Sage up here on Zoom. We got Sage on Zoom. All right, Sage, what's on your mind? You're on Zoom. We got Sage on. Okay, turn off your speakers.
Big brother, you got me good?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. How you doing? Black first, brother. Okay, so I'm in Brooklyn, New York. We have Jabari Brisport. I don't think anyone brought his name up today. That's a gentleman, that state representative. He's been tweeting about the whole Brooks situation, but basically just retweeting about it, but no real action being put forth. He's basically saying that he supports the officers being I want to say reprimanded of some way, but he won't go full out and just say that we need an anti-Black crime bill, or he won't say that this is pure racism. He won't do that. And he's one of my representatives up here.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that. I want you all to understand something here. Folks, I just got to say this to you straight. Politics, sometimes you get some smart people. It is very rare to get a brilliant person who goes into politics. Usually your brilliant people will go into something very specialized. They go into corporate business, finance, medicine. You're truly brilliant folk. It's rare to get a truly brilliant person who goes into politics. Jason, why are you bringing that up? What I'm saying is that a lot of folks assume that the folks who are getting elected, that they're fountainheads of ideas. And that's not really the way that works. The way it works, the people who usually go into politics are people who are ambitious, opportunistic, and they're looking for a crowd of people moving in a direction, and then they want to jump in front of that crowd and say that they're the band leader. That's what they're looking for, because that's what's safest for them. So they're really looking to see where momentum is, and their job is to try to be on the right side of where that momentum is. So when you say things like that about Mr. Brisport, I just want you to understand, a lot of them, they don't know. They don't really know what's resonating. Things make the news, but then again, a bunch of things make the news. The real thing is what is being put in their face and is being consistently brought back to their face. So In our case here, what gets their attention is who's yelling the loudest and yelling the most consistently, and they can't get away from it. Because all they know is that if you keep this up for a month, it's very, very likely you'll be there on election day or nearby, that you're not going to let this go. So now they have to start calculating, even if they don't want to do what you're doing, they now got to start making calculus for how do we defeat you. Oh, them folk are out there, they're talking, I need more campaign money because I got to deal with these loud niggas over there on YouTube. Because they found my name. And they've got their eye on me. And they're not going to take it off of me. So I need a lot more money if I can survive that. And then, of course, you're hoping for the next thing, which is for a politician. You have folks who may not be agreeable to you. Now you're hoping that there's no scandals, no problems, no accusations. Other things that draw your attention, make your name bad. You see how that starts stacking up. So I wanted to go through that so that you understand the kind of folks who get into politics, who you're dealing with, who they are. I'm being a little diplomatic here tonight, but I'm just being straight with you, that's what you're really looking at. Now that you know this, it gives you a little bit of a better idea of exactly what to expect about how you move them. They will not move spontaneously is what I'm telling you. Most of the folks you think are moving spontaneously, they're actually responding to hot button issues that were already in motion. The illegal alien issue for the right wingers was already in motion. It's been for 10 years. They didn't just jump up and get passionate about it. That's been a alarm that's been ringing. That's been a drum that's getting beat on. They want to know if we're going to do like everybody else does, and then something like this happens, and then we get up and go away. We vent for a little bit, and then we leave. I'm glad you brought this up. I know I'm going to let you finish out here in a moment, but I'm glad you brought this up because, brother, do you realize that the previous generations conditioned the black politicians to respond like that? They conditioned them that we're going to be upset for about 48 hours, and then the Jeffersons is going to come on and we're going to leave. So, yeah, you're unhappy about the politicians' responses to these things. Take a look at the last 5 decades. How have we conditioned them to respond? We're going to yell for about a minute, and then we're going to move on to something else. So this is what I've been telling you all for the last 5-7 years. We're going to have to recondition them to understand this is not a fluke. We're not bored. We're not venting. And most importantly, we're not going away. We're serious. Now, when you convince them of that, now they will treat you differently. Case in point, reparations in California at the state level. They were up after midnight, and all of them was explaining about don't blame me, don't blame me, don't blame me. And Gavin Newsom is already trying to figure out what he's going to do because he knows he won't be president now.
So, last two things. It's funny that you brought this up, this topic for this broadcast, because on Tuesday he's supposed to be having like a community outreach program where it's not written in stone, but he's gonna have either himself or representatives there, and they wanted to speak to the public, just I guess to gauge on where the public is. I do plan on being there. So I'm definitely gonna run this program back and have questions for him. Presented
Tuesday where?
That's going to be at 1014 Lafayette Avenue in Brooklyn. One more time, 1014 Lafayette Avenue in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, I'm just taking that down.
No problem. And that's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. That's at the Jesse Owens School. That's the school, the Jesse Owens School.
Okay.
Lastly, because you brought this up earlier in the broadcast, you might not remember me too much. I'm the dude that was your eyes and ears throughout that whole Pace University situation in New York. When I held that space and you came in, and we had to get some straightening there. And I think that we came out that one victorious, and I think that we'll come out this one victorious as well. So anything dealing with, New York, again, not just me, but anyone, you're in Louisiana, so I thank you, for putting the energy and the effort forward, for the younger generation like myself. but we definitely need to be the eyes and the ears on the ground for you. And again, I call out to any New York, other than myself, be there and stand 10 toes. And that's what I want to
I
say.
think that's an excellent idea. Everybody in New York, we need to be at 1014 Lafayette Avenue, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This Tuesday. We need to be there. We need to be there, and we need to have a conversation with Mr. Bridgeport, who may just need a little bit of motivation. So I am all in favor of that. I am absolutely in favor of that. I want eyes, ears, cameras, whole 9 yards. He wants the public to show up, then let's go ahead and show up then. He would like for the public to show up, then that's exactly what I'd like to see. I'd like to find out here, because I don't know if he has a page for that or something. That would be interesting. I'm wondering if he does, because I think he's got Twitter for that. Has he announced that publicly? There's a reason why I want to know about that.
He announced it on Twitter. I mean, I can send it to you. He definitely announced, he said it on Twitter, but other than that, I don't, he hasn't said it on the television, if you're saying, but it's definitely a tweet on Twitter, and it has a QR code. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk 25, January 7th.
There we go.
Community survey launch party. He's only got 1,300 engagement on that. Wonder if we can do a little bit more. Wonder if we can help him out a little bit more on that. New York State Senator, Chief of Committee of Children and Families, former public school teachers, socialist. Okay. Well, let's go socialize with a socialist, shall we? Let's go socialize with Mr. Socialist. I'm going to share this on my Twitter page here. Good looking out here, brother. Very good looking out here.
No problem, brother. Black first.
Black first, brother. Thank you very much for giving us a call. Yeah, that's the kind of thing exactly we need there. You'd like to meet us? We'd like to meet him. I think that's actually a very good one. That's the top at the high at the top of my list of priorities there. So I know the weather has been changing and whatnot. I don't know. Maybe I'll find my way up there. I know the weather's been... I don't usually like to go to New York when it snows. Don't usually like to be in New York when it snows, but maybe we'll make things a little bit different now. I've got Anisha here on Zoom. Anisha, I just need you to turn your camera and microphone on for me here. Just need you to go ahead and turn your camera and microphone on for me here. I can give you about 5 seconds for that, and then we got to move on. So go ahead and take care of that for us. Let's go ahead and see here. Anisha, I can give you about 2 more seconds, and then we have to move on. Okay, Anisha is having difficulty figuring out how to use that, so maybe they can check with us some other time. Let's go ahead and get back here to Dwayne on Zoom. Dwayne on Zoom here. All right, Dwayne, what is on your mind? Well, Dwayne's trying to connect his audio. He's got them wireless earbuds.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, there you go. What's on your mind?
Hey, Jason. I'm from Buffalo, and actually, Kathy Hochul's from my hometown, believe it or not. And she's lousy. I can tell you that right now. We don't like her up here. Just like the previous caller was kind of hitting on Buffalo. The people here just are not very politically active, and they don't really advocate for anything like that, unfortunately. But what I did, something crossed my mind. So Brooks, Mr. Brooks is from Rochester, and they got him in the Marcy Correctional Facility. I actually went to school a couple miles down the road from there. And I'm wondering now, I bet a lot of those officers live in the surrounding areas. So I went and I looked up some of the officials there. Would you want me to give you their names?
I mean, for local officials, I'm not really sure. I mean, like state
Yeah, like
representatives.
yeah, from that particular area. Because my thought process is, well, maybe they can kind of speak up about it, if enough of us get on their bumpers.
Well, if it happened in their areas, certainly.
Okay. So we got Assembly District 119, Marianne Buttonshawn, Buttenschon. And we have Congressman Brandon Williams.
Okay, Miss Button Sean looks like a butter ball, but okay. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I got for you. So,
Okay, well, see.
I hope that's of some usefulness,
Okay.
because I mean, it, it didn't happen in the city, so it did happen up here, and I'm thinking, if we put pressure, up here, maybe that we can get some eyes and ears on it.
Okay, well, Miss Button Sean, we are pleased to make your acquaintance.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, brother. We appreciate that. We are pleased to make your acquaintance. Let's go ahead and see if we can get Barbara up here on Zoom. Let's go ahead and see if we can get Barbara here on Zoom. Okay, we got Barbara here on Zoom. Make sure you have your
Hi.
speakers off there. All right, Barbara, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm a lifelong New Yorker from Harlem, and I want to apologize from earlier when the brother was talking about you can't find out who your elected officials is. That's an easy Google thing. Anyway, moving right along. We have committees. We have standing committees on corrections in our legislature. And I'm looking over the list of people. I'm seeing brown faces. I'm sorry I can't go into detail, but I'm not going to waste much time. But we have committees that are supposed to focus on these things. So one goes into New York State Assembly, nyassembly.gov. Click a committee. You can find faces and places they come from. They come from all over the state. So it doesn't matter to me if you're from New York City. You're usually on a committee from people from all over. So, the subject
is there a committee there for the Department of Corrections or something like that?
It's the Standing Committee on Correction. That's exactly what it's called. If you go into the website, you'll see a list of the committees, and then you'll see who serves on these different categories of committees. There's a similar one for the state Senate, if I'm not mistaken. But what I want to get back to in general, I was going through all the legislatures, and they all have pictures and they have pretty bios. And usually within each of those bios, they tend to talk about where they come from. And I'm not seeing many, what I would say a native New Yorker. It might be a second generation immigrant or even first. So, it's that conversation is going to come into place. Because to me, it's been very quiet about this murder that took place. And I kind of feel that there's maybe a fallout because our mayor is having his difficulties right now, and things seems to be real quiet. Like everybody's waiting for the knock on the door, and having their things confiscated. I really think a lot of people are like really laying low because they're waiting for the next knock on the door. But I'm rambling a little bit. But I just want to say, there's a way to go into these bios and get a fix on what committees these people serve on and where they come from and where their politics may lie based on that. And that's basically all I have to contribute. Oh, one more thing. There is a big thing that used to be the Black Legislative Caucus. It used to be held in February around the President's Weekend. But now it's the the Black, Asian, everybody's in it caucus now. But that happens every February. They generally have sessions where they talk about things, but it's basically a big party scene. But that's where all the legislators show up and show out, basically.
Okay. The chair is one Mr. Eric Dillon.
Yeah.
I believe that he is of Black and Puerto Rican descent. The
Mhm.
only reason I'm bringing it up is because that's what it says for
Mhm.
his thing there. So he thought that was somebody who put this up thought that was a very important point to
Yeah,
make.
they tend to drop those things. Some bios will be kind of vague, but when they have a connection that's immigrant based, they drop it in the bio real quick. It's like it always pops up somewhere.
Well, he wants you to know that, so I'm very glad
And
he
his
wanted us
dad
to
was
know
a
that.
legislator as well. So there's another thing with New York. There's this thing about legacy, or let's say family ties. So you go from the assembly, you do your term, then you jump back up to the Senate, then you come back down to your local district. It just kind of ping pongs like that. That's why we get these sort of heirs to the throne, if you want to put it that way. That tends to happen also in New York. I'm a novice. I'm an older person, but I'm kind of a novice on this politic thing. But I that's real for people in Harlem. Harlem has like sort of these people that hang on for a long time, and then they pass it on to their grands or their, it's messy.
Okay, well, I think that's an excellent suggestion you've given there, since this is the committee for that. So that certainly helps narrow that down.
Mm-hmm. And also look into the Senate. We have two houses. We have the upper and the lower. The Senate, state senators, and then the assemblymen fall below them. But they are within the New York State legislative hierarchy, if you want to put it that way, under Hochul.
Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and bookmark that for all of those members there, especially Mr. Dillon, who we have not had the pleasure of making his acquaintance just yet, but we are about to.
Okay. Thank you. And be one fan.
The Arctic front is not the only thing that's coming through New York this week. Thank you very much for giving us a call, nice sister. We appreciate that. That was an excellent suggestion in that regard. So, yeah, of all the people who should be the biggest voices speaking right now, Mr. Dillon should be the biggest right here. So, for whatever reason, he's decided he hasn't. So, maybe it's because he doesn't feel like he has enough public attention and support just yet. So, we will see what we can do to help that out. But, yes, I think the issue here is that he's felt like he hasn't had enough, hasn't been given enough attention on that. His committee is probably very small and otherwise insignificant. Not anymore. So, 2025, I've got a couple of folks here I'd like to hear from us. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When I come back, I'm going to tell you all which direction we're going to go in with this. When I come back here, and we're not going to be widespread about this. When I come back here, I want to go get right into which direction we're going to go in on this. We are not going to call everybody out there. That is not going to occur. Furthermore, don't need to. No, there's just a few of you here. But, I think we need to get a lot less. They need to get a lot less done this week so they can get a lot more done. Going to get a lot less done so you can get a lot more done here. Brothers and sisters, I want to thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, Mogul Maze, Flex Donata, my man, Mr. Richburg. Thank you very much for your support. Brenda, everyone else out here, Kelly, Darius, thank you very much for your support as well. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. When I come back, I'm going to go ahead and give you the first round of names and what we're going to do here. Let's just go ahead and get to it. This is the Black Channel.
When you visit MrBeTheTeacher.com, you can get a copy of his award-winning book, Guidelines for the Successful Student. While you're there, grab one of his newest tunes along with fun and educational lyric videos.
Never give up, don't worry, never give up, study. In order to
1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6. 2 down swap names, he, she, they, and we. Simplify the tiny divides as the following guide. Money multiplies and shares of what they buy.
You can also acquire his tutoring services via varsitytutors.com or tutor.com. If you wish to speak to Steve Burgess directly, you can do so through MrBeTheTeacher.com.
The Honey Badger and the Mongoose is a children's story for the family of how a honey badger and mongoose fight an evil alliance of venomous cobra snakes and hyenas that overhauls the balance of the savannah. The Big Five. The honey badger demands reparations. Will the Big Five give the honey badger reparations? Can the evil alliance of cobras and hyenas be stopped? The best new price for the hard and soft cover is at www.thehoneyBadgerandthemongoose.com. You can also find this book at Amazon, Audible, and Kindle.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening as we are discussing what we are going to do here as promised last week. We were talking about the murder of Robert Brooks in New York City by the prison officials and medical staff as well. This is just the latest of an ongoing campaign. And up until this point, I think folks have been depending on everybody talking about something else. Well, Donald Trump's down there in D.C. We are not focusing on that. We're focusing on our good Democrat friends up there in New York. So what I want to do here, I'm going to take one more caller over here on Zoom, and then we're going to go ahead and get down to business about what the next step is there. All right, we got Sean here on Zoom. Sean, what's on your mind?
Jason, I'm an avid follower, but I just have a couple of quick questions for you. Now, listen, I was listening. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. I think you were talking to a Jamaican young lady, and you in reference to their culture, and you were basically kind of bringing about that the Caribbean culture.
Okay, brother, we got a lot going on here tonight. So let me find out here. Did you have a question? Because we got a lot going on here tonight.
Yes. Well, ultimately, my question for you is, do you have any smoke for your so-called own people, your FBA own people? Because I hear a lot of negativity towards the Caribbean culture, the African culture. I hear it's
okay,
almost
sir. How long have you been listening to my program, sir?
I've been listening to your program at least a year and a half now.
Okay.
And I've yet to hear any criticism towards your own culture. You have all the smoke and all the history for everybody else's culture, but it's almost as if your own culture is, I mean, I could include myself in that culture too, but you separated everybody as if the FBA
okay,
culture.
Sir, let me find out.
Strictly,
let me find out here. What is the point you're trying to make by that?
Well, the point I'm trying to make is that you've made FBA strictly foundational Americans as infallible, as if they have no issues, and if they have any issues, it's because of someone else.
Okay, sir.
And
When you make up things, just understand it just destroys you when you do that. I don't think anybody would be so brain damaged or criminally dishonest as to say that I have set up anything as infallible. So right there, when you start resorting to outlandish, cartoonish statements, I just want you to understand whatever point you're trying to make, you just demolished it when you exaggerate things to a cartoonish proportions. No one, I have not pointed to anyone as a symbol of quote unquote infallibility. That's never occurred. Now, anybody who's been listening to my program for more than, I don't know, a week has been hearing me about anybody and everybody. I've got equal criticism across the board. If something hits a little bit close to home for you, maybe there's something for you to stop. Maybe you're the one pretending to have infallibility and that it's stinging because, yeah, there's a point of correction that you would be better served to stop and address. Now, there are levels. There are certainly levels of performance. And on whatever scale you want to look at, our level of performance has been nothing short of world class, as evidenced by the fact that everybody's trying to move where we are to reside. We don't have a place that we're moving to reside. Also, I think it's very admirable the fact that they have a place to come to as a safe space that we set up is also because in our culture, we didn't run. We stayed, we fought, we bled, we died, and we kept fighting. Something that you don't see anywhere else. If folks feel self-conscious about that, about stating a simple fact, that's probably because they took a look at their people's experience and didn't see a parallel. And so there's the issue. So rather than do the mature thing and simply see that as, hey, you know what? Jason's right. This is a point of need of improvement. They're instead saying, can we deflect so that we don't have to deal with an unpleasant reality?
If I hate how this might come off, what I'm about to say. I hate how this might come off to you.
Well, we're really off topic tonight because this is not even what we're discussing.
But I think this is
so we're really off topic. Okay, there's a lot of things that are important. Why didn't you call in last night?
Well, I caught it late.
Okay.
I caught the program late.
Another thing outside of our culture. In any case, what I recommend you do is the next time I talk about that, you can have an opportunity to go ahead and call us up. Now that you know where to find us. Thank you very much for that. He's given an opportunity. Had a whole program last night about that. We're talking about something different. Can we backtrack? No. We're going to stay focused. We are going to stay focused tonight. You'll have an opportunity to come in and exhibit yourself again in the future if you want to there. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, I was right about here. All right, Mr. Dillon, Mr. Eric Dillon, New York State Assembly of the 54th District. Let me get this off of here. This thing is frozen up for some weird reason. Mr. Eric Dillon of the 54th District. We'd like to have an opportunity to speak with him. So I'd very much like us to go ahead and have a chance to get in touch with Mr. Dillon. So that's the first name I want you all to go ahead and take down there. Mr. Eric Dillon of the 54th District, since he is the proud chair of the Standing Committee on Corrections, who clearly it's not very clear what the chairman has gotten done, but we are going to give him an opportunity to go ahead and speak on that. As a matter of fact, we'll give a requirement for it. So Mr. Dillon will be first there. When would you all like for us to go ahead and start doing that? Now, if you all would like, If you would like, I am willing to do a special broadcast tomorrow. What? Oh, yes, tomorrow. We can start by doing a special broadcast there tomorrow. Now, I do understand that the weather outside is frightful. And the fire would be so delightful, so we're going to bring the heat to them. There's a cold front moving through. New York City is going to be cold tomorrow, but we're bringing the heat for them. So in New York, that's what we're going to do. We are going to be doing that here tomorrow, so I would like to get a hold here of starting with Mr. Dillon, since for some reason here he's been aware of what's been happening, but it's not very clear what he has done about what's going on there. So first order of business is make sure we let Mr. Dillon know that, by the way, we are going to insist on having a word with him. That'll be the next thing. That'll be the next thing here. So I want to start with him. That's a big one. I want to start with him. I'd also like to have a word with Mr. Jamani Williams. He's been wanting to make some noise in the name for himself there. He wanted to have attention. Congratulations, Mr. Williams. You now have our attention, and we would very much like to make sure that we put a national spotlight on you. So that will be the next order of business there. We'll make sure we have a national spotlight for you. No, not a problem there. Tuesday. I'm weighing if I can come to New York on a Tuesday. Damn! I'm weighing it right now about coming to New York on a Tuesday. It's a very short notice. Was just there a few months ago. Very short notice, but I might get lucky. And it might start snowing. So, and I hate snow. I detest snow. Although as I've gotten older, I'm actually not as bothered by the cold and the snow as I used to be. Oh, is it supposed to snow tomorrow in New York? Damn! Oh, man. Is it supposed to snow tomorrow? Morning snow showers in New York. Perhaps I'll bring my equipment. Maybe I can make a stop through. Perhaps I can bring my equipment. Perhaps I can do that. Now they said light snow. Drat. Light snow. Was hoping for something a little bit better, something a little bit more picturesque. Was hoping for something a little bit more picturesque. Oh, they say maybe again on Saturday. So, all right. On Monday and then maybe again on Saturday. So we might get lucky. I might get lucky. Might have to tiptoe my way through. No, I am not a fan of snow. I'm not a fan of cold necessarily, but you know what I'm also not a fan of? White supremacy. Not a fan of that either. Not a fan of that either. So, yeah, when you're heading up like through New York and New Jersey, it gets so cold that it freezes, your windshield washers. Damn! Oh, I don't like that. When you're driving in those areas and it's so cold it can freeze your windshield washers. Not the preferred mode of travel, man. Not the preferred mode of travel. Not cool. Not with it. Don't dig it. Not really what I'm looking for. So, yeah. When you got all that going on, I'm not a fan. But I've done it. And I'll do it again. Oh yeah, one more thing. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. And as I'm getting older, quite frankly, it bothers me less. All of my full-size SUVs have four-wheel drive on them, so might as well take a moment to dust off those lockers and get them geared up. So We can do that too. But do not tell yourself that unpleasant weather conditions are going to be enough to stop me. So don't tell yourself that one will occur. And it can't occur because Mr. Brisboard, as I understand, has an event coming up here on the 7th. Mr. Brisboard, Mr. Jabari Brisboard has an event coming up here on the 7th in Brooklyn. He has an event coming up on the 7th in Brooklyn. How far from Junior's Cheesecake is that? What? I'm just wondering how far from Junior's Cheesecake that is. I'm just wondering. You think we have time or leeway to go grab one on the way over? Do you think we got time to do that? Folks said not far. Folks said not far. Is that what y'all said? It's not far from it? Okay. Who knows? We might make a date of it. Who knows? We might make a date of it. Who knows? Might have an opportunity to do that. I might get cheesecake for everybody. All my Diddy fans. Damn. Okay, I know I'm right. I know I'm on thin ice with that one right there. Everybody who saw Making the Band. Everybody who saw Making the Band, you know about Junior's Cheesecake. If you remember Diddy and Making the Band. So I'm like, on the one hand, I want to say Junior's Cheesecake. On the other hand, I don't want Diddy to jump out. I got you. So I don't want to scare anybody. So on the one hand, you might be able to twist my arm and I get cheesecake for everybody. On the other hand, I don't want y'all sitting there thinking that the freak off about to jump off. So I wouldn't want that to occur. I don't want to have folk ill at ease, so I have to weigh my options there. Jason thought he was making a good faith gesture. Yeah, I've been there, the big red and yellow sign. You can't park. I've been there, the great big red and yellow sign is, but you can't park, so it's just like, okay. Imagine trying to sit up here and get a Tahoe to get parked in one of those. No. So but Mr. Brisboard in Brooklyn, yes sir, we're gonna have to see about that. Yes sir, we'll have to see about that. We will definitely have to see about that. Have to do that. Now, I have one question in that regard. Who's pulling up? Who's pulling up? I know. You're dusting off for your holidays. You got to get your side chick a new purse. I understand. You got to do that. To the ladies out there and whatnot, it's like, I understand some of these fellas, they got to back off of that. But, it's just, I'm asking about who's pulling up on this. My folks there in New York. I know the weather is getting ready to change out there. I know it's already cold enough, but then again, y'all used to that in New York. That's not new. Y'all are used to that in New York. That's not new. That's not new. Sage, I want you to email me. Matter of fact, Brother Sage, I want you to email me here. You can email me at theblackauthority@yahoo.com. You can email me at theblackauthority@yahoo.com. Now, New York is used to the cold. Black folk up there in New York, they always got their thick jackets with the fur thing around the neck. I always thought that was, I'm from Louisiana, so I always just thought that was a bit much. Then you get up there and realize why they got those. I always just thought it was, I'm just like, okay, that's not macho enough. I can't have a coat with a big furry thing around the neck. I can't do that. It's like having a mink around your neck. I'm like, I ain't gonna do all that. Man, you go to New York and Chicago, New York will be stylish about it. You go to New York, okay. You find out real quick why folk doing that. Everywhere else, like, I'm too macho for that. It's like, okay, that New York breeze come through at LaGuardia. That New York breeze come through on I-95 on George Washington. It's like, okay. Oh, that's why. And you know me, I keep trying to hang out down there by the Hudson. So it's like, okay. Everywhere else in America, you know, it's suspicious walking around with a hoodie on. In New York is mandatory. It's like nobody blinks at it because you got to have one. It's like for the rest of us, we good without it. New York, nope. They know you're from out of town if you don't dress like that. They know you're from out of town if you don't dress that way. So if they see you sitting up, you just wearing a windbreakers, oh, you're from out of town. You're not from here. You got a big thick coat, but you don't have the furry thing on the neck. Oh, you're not from here. You must be a Southerner. You're not from here. Big nice coat, but where's your neck fur at? Oh, he's not from here. Oh, okay. Tomorrow. We're going to be having a program here tomorrow, and I don't know, might make a whole week of it. Who knows? Who knows? I do know one thing. The status quo is not acceptable, and it's not going to be allowed. So look for me to do that. Tonight's program is not going to be terribly long because the time for talk is over. Understand, folks, if they can lynch you in New York, they can do that anywhere. If it gets attention there, that's the kind of thing that you want. You already got folks scrambling for cover. Letitia James is trying to get out of harm's way. That's exactly what you're looking for. So, I'll be sharing that thing here in a moment. Otherwise, it looks like the weather will be okay otherwise on Tuesday. So, otherwise on Tuesday, it looks like the weather will be okay, just like it's going to be frightfully cold. So, it will be. I'm from Louisiana, so anything below 45 is very cold. We got to wear layers for anything below 45. So, in New York, they damn near wearing Bermuda shorts. But for those of us from Louisiana, anything below 45 degrees, and like, okay, we got bundles. We're wearing all black. Looking like the little kids did with the mittens on. So, for those of you from New York, y'all are kind of like shaking it off. Trying not to be too conspicuous. All joking to the side, we have work to do. I do not know who will be with us. I do not know who will not be. I've never let that bother me before, and today and this week will be no different. I'll be here. We'll find out who else is with us. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. We have stuff to get ready for, don't we? For those of you who'll be looking for me tomorrow. Jason, what time? Figure I should go ahead and get things started probably around noon time. Figure I should go ahead and get things started around noon. So, noon New York time, that is. Figure we should go ahead and get things started then, but once I get started, we rolling. Once I get started, we rolling. We on their necks, we ain't getting off of it. Shout out to Business Calculus Kev. He said he's in the desert and there's something for the trip. Thank you very much, brother. We appreciate that. We got work to do, brothers and sisters. Get yourselves a good night's rest here. We've got things to look after, my folks, especially my folks on Tuesday. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to tonight's program, live or recorded. If you listen to this recorded on January 5th, January 6th, January 7th, we got things to do. January 6th, we're going to be calling them. January 6th, we're going to be pulling up on them. To let folks know exactly where we stand on this. Third Eye Open, thank you very much for your support. I appreciate that. To everyone who has contributed to tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo, thank you very much for that. More importantly, though, it's very, very important to me to have people's support there. It's very, very important that you all are showing your support financially. Now I need folk to show their support physically on this. The reason that this is an issue today is because the civil rights generation wanted to go home, watch MTV, play around and bull jive. That's the whole reason we're still having to do this today. You want things to change, you want things to be different, you're going to have to show people that you're willing to get off social media, turn off the TV, and that you are willing to take out the time to show that you're showing up in person, you're calling in person, that this is important to you. That's what that's about. I want to remind you all of something. I traveled this country for the previous, well, I've been doing this for decades now, but the previous 4 years. I thought it was odd. I thought it was weird. I thought it was crazy at first when I would travel to certain states and certain places. Alabama, North Carolina, Georgia, Iowa, Ohio, Arkansas, Michigan. And every once in a while, you would see it. Every once in a while, you would see one of those blue Donald Trump signs. Every once in a while, you would see one. Now, when you saw it in 2020, I'm just like, okay, they're just late and lazy taking down their signs. But you still saw them in 2021 during the pandemic. They kept up their signs. Some of them went out and bought new ones. Some of them went out and bought new signs, bought them even bigger. And you just seemed like the crazy old cooter down the street who just wouldn't give it up pops and just didn't recognize when it's over. That's what it was. But you sat there and you watched them. You sat there and you looked. You sat there and watched them, and they stayed at it day after day, year after year. They didn't take their signs down. What I'm telling you is that they were on a crusade. While the Democrats were trying to figure out what they were going to do, these other folks had simply never let it go. And they stayed at it. By the time 2024 came around, it was a fait accompli. The reason is because while the Democrats were trying to scramble to motivate and mobilize their people, Trump's people were already marching. They had never stopped marching for the previous 4 years. They were marching from 2016 to 2020, and they simply continued marching. They never quit, folks. I'm telling you, I saw it the whole time. 2024 came around. He didn't even have to call the troops into company. They were already standing at attention. They had never stopped marching. He didn't have to tell them to oil up their weapons and get ready their trebuchets. They had already had them together. They'd been waiting for him to give the word. They had never stopped. We made progress when that's what we were doing. When you are consistent and relentless, that's where progress comes from. We have an opportunity to do that, or shall I say we're going to make an opportunity to do that. The rest of these folks are looking forward to 2026. We're not even talking about 2026. We're talking about 2025. So a brief recap here. Tomorrow, 10, 11, somewhere around there. Somewhere around noontime here, Be looking for me here tomorrow during the daytime. Be looking for me tomorrow here during the daytime. And we are going to get together and we are going to let some folks know we are there. Tuesday, looks like Mr. Jabari Brisport is going to be at the Jesse Owens School at 1014 Lafayette Avenue in Brooklyn. He's been posting some things on Twitter about the Robert Brooks murder, but seems like he may need somebody to give him a little bit of some motivation here to say that, by the way, we need to stay focused on this, and we need folks who are putting together legislation and putting out legislation, and we will accept nothing less. If you can do some bull crap like make a look-back law for Donald Trump, and that doesn't mean anything, it didn't do anything. Meanwhile, you got folk out here getting killed by state employees under the state's watch. Yeah, you gonna drop everything else. Everything else goes on the back burner. This comes to the front. So tomorrow, be looking for us to be broadcasting. Tuesday, Mr. Brisport is on the agenda. And I'll be looking for all of you there. Third Eye Open. Thank you very much for your support, my man Sage. Thank you very much here as well. This concludes this broadcast of the Black Channel. Enough talk. Thank you to Black Powder Podcast and everybody else, but enough talk. Let's get to it. To my brothers and sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is Monday, January 6th.